Welcome to Off Script. I am one of your hosts, Will.
And I'm Ashley, and this is the full disclosure on how to thrive in real estate while balancing family, friends, and everything in between.
Yep, love it. Today we're going to be discussing one of my favorite topics when it comes to coaching, which is how to avoid burnout. And in that light, we have an update from our team. So I was running numbers yesterday on the market, and Katie has quickly positioned herself as number one agent in terms of units in Omaha year to date. So we are early in the year. We are at about 48, 49 days through the year so far. But she's number one in buyer side units by a big margin. She has 13 closed already and 9 more pending, which is 5 ahead of the second agent in terms of buyer units. And then total units, she's right there too. So to see her growth over the past year and a half has been incredible. And I think it's such a good segue to what both of you guys deal with, which is this cycle of being a high performer and then running into a wall or hitting burnout, and how to avoid that and how you've kind of experienced that over the past couple years.
Yep. I'm really proud of Katie. Katie Langenfeld, by the way. Got to say her last name. She has less than 2 years in real estate, so to see her go from never selling a house before to less than a year and a half having a voicemail saying she sold her first house and now being the number one agent in the market of closed units is pretty cool to see and fun to watch her grow, and she's been just doing fantastic. But she has hit some walls throughout the time, so I think this is a perfect topic. We both have throughout the last couple of years of what we've been going through, so I think this is a good segue into talking about burnout for agents.
Yeah, I mean, our team's pacing at a really high level right now, which is really good to see in the first quarter. You're number 2, number 3 in terms of listing units this year, pacing right where you usually are, which is like right in that top 10. So you guys both experience the same thing, and Katie, has fallen in. You guys raise each other up, right? Like you become who you surround yourself with. So for you to be leading like that and for her to come with you on that journey, trust you with your clients and everything that, she's able to procure herself. It's been cool to see. So I get the wonderful opportunity and sometimes not to coach you guys. And I get to see these.
We're difficult.
I get to see these signs of like burnout coming oftentimes. And what I see with most high performers, when I say, "Hey, are we approaching burnout? Are you getting tired? Are we exhausted?" The answer is always no. I'm not. There's no way I could possibly get tired. And then quickly after that, it generally happens, right? And I don't know. You go through this cycle quite often and have gotten better at it, and Katie's experiencing actually today and dealing with this now. What are the signs that you see that burnout's happening and that you need to kind of slow down and pull yourself out of it?
For me, probably just my mind is a little bit less clear. I get a little bit more like irritable and frustrated and stressed out a lot quicker when I'm overwhelmed and have a lot on my plate, and I don't feel like I make the best decisions because I'm just trying to make a decision to move on to the next task, and I need to like stop and pull myself out of it and look at things more from a strategic perspective of how I can either leverage or work with somebody on the team to help me. That's always been my biggest downfall, is I like to do everything myself and I don't like to ask for help. So for me, my biggest signs are just probably just the shortness and not thinking clearly, I think, and just making like really rash decisions.
Yeah, well, why was that? Why you've gotten much better at bringing people in and delegating, right? But at the beginning, why did you not want to give anything else to anybody else?
Probably trust at first. I mean, anyone who's been in this industry for a while, I've been licensed since 2015, like your clients or your babies, if you will. Like you want to hold on to them, you want to nurture them, you want to make sure that you treat them as best as you can, and nobody can do it as good as you, right? We all think that nobody can do it better than we can. And so for me, it was just trust and being able to hand off clients or allow somebody else to help with them and know that they're going to do it as good, if not better than me. And so, I mean, circling back to Katie currently being the number one agent in town right now with closed units, like I joke with her that we're competing against each other, but I'm really, really proud of that, to be able to see somebody that we've mentored surpass. Like, there's no ego in that. I'm just thankful to have her.
Yeah, you guys have like a cool competitive nature.
Yeah, we do.
The two of you guys. And you guys are very similar in how you approach things, which I would say most high performers are, and I'm sure if you're listening to this, you can probably have some of these same characteristics, right? Like lack of trust for top agents especially is a challenge because everything you've done has served you to get to that point, and so to leverage and start changing things at a point when momentum's high or you've built something that you you have to start changing things. That's a big challenge for most people.
Yeah.
Stubborn, oftentimes. Stubborn to the signs that we're seeing outside. So I think the universe always tells us what's happening, especially in sales. We say it all the time. You attract exactly who you are. So if you look at your clients that you're working with right now, if they are not motivated and they're picky and they're frustrating, you probably are being that yourself. You're probably being more stubborn. If they are motivated and excited and they want to move forward and they're wanting to buy a house or sell their house, that's probably because you're presenting that same kind of energy, into the world, right? So you're going to attract who you are. And the same thing happens with, being stubborn and like, I don't want to do this. This isn't something that I want to change at this time. And I think you guys have both experienced that, and it takes you into burnout quickly by not seeing the signs.
Yeah, I mean, we focus so much on coaching on like our internal mindset and what we're reading and how we're growing, and it's so true that like what you put out there, your clients match. So if you're in a good mental headspace and your energy is really good and you're in a confident, happy, good mindset, like in general, your clients are, things go much smoother in my life, my transactions are going better, but when I'm in a negative or a bad headspace or just really overwhelmed and stressed and anxious, it just seems like everything happening in my world, including the transactions and clients I'm working with, like that's when things start falling apart or everything just gets harder.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Like if you, especially when we talk about this, like hitting ceilings, when you hit your ceiling that is your natural capacity as an agent, you're going to have to create leverage and you have to start bringing in other people. And that's like a hard part to understand or know that you're there. So for me, I always know you especially, and Katie and other agents on our team are going to hit burnout when you're not present, you're a little bit irritable. Like there's certain signs, right? And you guys are so in it that you can't ever tell. This is just normal, and we took what was hard and we added 4 more clients to it, and then you just have to keep up, right? So partners of agents probably know this better than the agent even knows, but like, hey, you're about to approach burnout. What's made you like want to stop doing that or realize the pattern?
Well, I don't like the way that I feel during it. Things go a lot different and a lot more frustrating when I'm experiencing burnout. And I think just with time and experience, I've learned that you can only serve so many people, and that I think it's all ego if you think that I'm the best to ever do it, nobody can do it better than me, and I don't need a team to help. I actually had a conversation with an agent, this was probably a year ago, who it changed my perspective a little bit. She said, I could never hire a showing assistant, I could never do it the way you're doing, I could never have a buyer agent because my clients would never work with me unless they could only work with me. And it resonated with me for a moment. And sometimes it makes you question what you're doing and like, oh, am I following the right model? Am I doing this the right way? Maybe she has a point. But then as I step back and see, I helped 50 people last year, going to help at least 50 sellers this year. Katie probably 70 at the pace she's going. There's no way I could do that alone, for one. I want all of my clients to get a great experience, but I physically cannot help 100, 200 people by myself without a team and leverage. Yep. And so what I've learned over time is that people want standards. And people just want the expectations and know that you're going to help them find the right house at the right time for the right price. Same thing on the list side, sell it for top dollar. And if you have standards of what you do consistently and you have a clear pathway of how you can execute and make that happen, then it's just replicating that and training your team to do the same thing. And those clients eventually buy into the brand and like not just who I am. Of course they want to work with me, but if I'm telling them, hey, Katie's a fantastic buyer agent, here's exactly what she's going to do to help you, and it's following the same path that I followed, like they completely trust that as long as they're getting the same experience and the same standard of what is being delivered to them. And that's what I've learned is like you can't do it all yourself, and as long as you can really, really like figure out your systems and processes and exactly what you're delivering to your clients, and you can replicate that through other people and still give them the same experience.
100%, you nailed it. So to sum that up, your clients do not need you, they need your standards of service.
Yes.
And if you can lead people to your standard of service, you then can serve more and more people, which then, like you said, takes the ego out of it and allows you to help and serve at a higher level.
Yeah, and I get to focus on the fun stuff, and then I get to focus on negotiating contracts and dealing with the people instead of all of the paperwork and tasks. And for Katie, one day it'll be all of the showings. Like, the stuff that really matters is the relationship building, the face-to-face. We've been working a lot on, if we're going on vacation to Mexico here in a week, if Katie and I were to step out tomorrow, how would the business still run without us, and how can we make that happen? And that's what I'm working on the listing side. Is that's why we have Asia, our listing manager, and Maya, our executive assistant, who helps me with things. That if I step out tomorrow and there's a catastrophe, that our team can step in and figure it out.
Yep.
I think that's what really makes like a good leader in the long run, is that it can survive without you there, not that everything falls apart when you leave.
That's right. One thing that we do when you're getting to a place where you feel like you have too much going on is we do time audits with our agents and with our staff. And what that means is just going back over the past. I know you've adopted this like every week.
Yeah.
But if you haven't done this before, do a time audit. Go through 3-4 days of your week, and every single hour, mark down what happened in the past hour and see where your time is being wasted, see where you can be more efficient. Pull yourself out of being in the rat race of it all and understand, be your own boss. See what's happening, be your own coach. See what's going on with your time to get more efficient. I know you do this all the time. How has that helped?
Yeah, so that's what helped me figure out what the next phase of hiring was to begin with. And we do this for even our admin staff. We do this. We go through and look at probably 2 weeks gives you a good gauge of where you're spending your time. And then I color block it into, was that an administrative task? Was that showings? Was that prepping for listing appointments? Whatever it is, I color coordinate and time block it. And then I look at it and I see, where am I spending the majority of my time? And I kind of write that out. And then I figure out, is this an agent duty? Is this a duty that's requiring me to negotiate contracts or do something that's going to essentially bring revenue into our bottom line of the business, which is my job as a listing agent, is to serve clients. And if it's not, then how do we either hire or delegate some of that work off of my plate, so all of my time is spent focusing on lead generation duties, bringing in clients, working with clients, and negotiating contracts.
100%. What's the old line? Don't mistake movement for achievement. Like, we get so busy doing as many things as we can instead of just being really efficient with our time and understanding that I should be answering client calls at this time. I should do lead gen for this block. What happens is we get into our time blocks that we have set up, and then we start doing everything else that wasn't that time block, because we're real estate agents are the best firefighters. So like we start thinking, hey, I got to put this fire out. This is the most important thing, to avoid the actual work of what you're wanting to do with your business. Yeah,
so I think the time blocking is good for if you're doing a look back and you're trying to figure out efficiencies and maybe potentially hiring or leverage. And then I also kind of do it at the beginning of each week on Sundays. I do this every Sunday for about 30 minutes, and I plan my week out as well. So kind of foreshadowing what I want my week to look at, when I'm going to get my lead gen in. I block out an hour every single day so I can hit my contacts. I try to make that one of the first things that I get done in the morning, so it's just done with, because then when all the other fires come through, you can handle those. When I'm going to talk to the people in my pipeline, and then just any meetings or listing appointments. And then kind of everything in between that is either free time or downtime to kind of work on follow-up type of stuff. But I like to plan it out ahead of time so that it's not as crazy as a week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like our Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are really structured to be extremely productive. We do intentions and gratitude for what our day is going to look like, what we're grateful for at 9:15. 9:30 to 10 we do script and role play. And then from 10 to 11 is lead generation. So get the big stuff out of the way early. So lead generation from 10 to 11. And then we focus on our home anniversary birthday cards directly after that. And then we have on our calendars, you guys named it chatty time, right?
Team chatty time.
Like, hey, we don't speak, and I mean, we do talk to each other, but we have designated time where I realized pretty early on the team, like, we get caught in conversations in the hallway. We just put on the calendar. You can do the get caught in conversations, or hey, do you have a minute, after we get done with all of our stuff. And if you get all that done before noon, you can be the best firefighter from 12 to 5.
Yep.
Like, you can put every single fire out between those times and set yourself up for success, because you're going to continually have more and more business come into your life.
Yes, I agree. And, you know, another thing as we're talking about kind of time hacks is setting those expectations with clients is probably another.
What do you mean?
Well, I think we as agents sometimes forget that we also have lives and family too, and we've positioned ourselves in this industry, like the general masses has, that I'm going to be available any time of the day, any evening, any hour, all weekend, 7 days, 24/7, available to show you houses. And I think that just sets you up for failure. And I think people are afraid to set boundaries and afraid to have standards with themselves, because if they're living in that 0 to 30, like you talked about in the last episode, of chasing business all the time, then of course you have to operate like that, because you're constantly like have to be in front of that person whenever they want you to be, otherwise you're going to lose that sale, is kind of the mindset you're in. Instead of, as we've talked about, nurturing your pipeline and having a steady flow of things and setting standards for yourself. The clients don't know any different. When I tell them, hey, you know, I'm not going to do a listing appointment at 8 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. I have maybe once before, and there was an extreme exception to it. They don't argue with you. They don't see anything wrong with that. I actually try and schedule most of my listing appointments during the 9 to 5 hours, which I never used to do because I didn't have any standards for myself. And I always offered up, does nights or weekends work better for you? Just right off the bat, because I assume, well, they're working a 9 to 5 job, so they need nights.
So
and
those
weekends.
are the options you're giving them.
Yeah, those are the options I'm giving them. So if you start giving them options that fit within your bucket of what works for you in your life, like, they'll figure it out. They usually do. I haven't lost a client over needing to schedule with them at noon on a Friday and them taking an hour or two off of work to meet with me. Now, I mean, I do make exceptions when I need to. I work within the parameters, but I really, really try and push to stay within 9 to 5 Monday through Friday when I can. Not only for my own schedule, but Asia, our listing manager, and other people on the team, I have to coordinate their schedules as well and trying to be respectful of their time. And you know, we run it like a business. So when we explain to people, these are the times that work for the listing appointments, and here's how we operate, and here's what to expect, I mean, it's rare that I get pushback at all.
Well, listen, what makes a top agent and a great salesperson and a high performer great at what they do is their ability to be present, right? And we are in this business so that we can have a life outside of it that we enjoy. But if we're going to work 24 hours or whatever, we sleep, right? We're going to work 16, 17 hours of that is going to be being present in our real estate business, because it doesn't matter what happens. When you're on your phone, you're present, right? You're in it. You know what you're going on with your transactions. You know what your clients need. There's no possible way you could be being your full self outside of that. Right. If you're always being present there. So if you're setting timelines and boundaries with your clients of this is when I'm going to give full attention to our real estate life, this is when I'm giving attention to my family, these are the things that I have going on, that doesn't mean it's going to go perfect by any means, but it's going to give you the opportunity to be who you want to be, which is a great father, a great mother, a great friend, a great partner, on top of being great at real estate. And I think we get those things muddied so much because we think we have to work outside of like everybody else's business hours.
Yes. And if you're, you know, I'm speaking on the listing side, but buyers, it's probably even more difficult as a buyer agent or when you're working with buyers, because that is when people want to go show houses. So if you're thinking of leverage or hiring somebody or a showing assistant and afraid that they won't work with you because it's not you, I think like we've debunked that myth. I mean, Katie did over 400 and what showings last year. We've hired a showing assistant now, and it's just part of her standard process when she does a buyer consult that this is my showing assistant, insert name here. They're going to be helping you throughout the process when I'm not available to make sure you can always get into a house. It's just setting that expectation with clients. And outside of her doing final walkthroughs, inspection walkthroughs, and negotiating contracts, like they now know I'm going to be seeing the showing assistant opening doors for me, but Katie's my agent, and I'll talk to her when I decide I'm writing an offer.
That's exactly right. And then if you know you're working in the evening, like restructure your day. Have the open time be different times throughout your day. It's not, I have to work 9 to 5 and then, I have to also work 5 to 9 because that's what they said I have to do, right?
Yep.
It is, in the beginning, a little bit more challenging as a new agent to get momentum, and you have to make these certain sacrifices. But once you get the ball rolling and there's momentum in your business, setting standards is so important to sustainability.
Yes.
It's huge.
Yes.
Cool. All right, we have 5 time hacks from ChatGPT.
Let's see what they came up
with. Okay. Time blocking for success. Dedicate fixed hours for lead gen, follow-up, and client work. if it was only that easy, and it is that easy, right? Like, get the time block set, and the cool thing about Google Calendars is you can just repeat it.
Yep.
So you just go Monday through Friday, or Monday, like for us, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We let our team have a little bit more open mornings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, again, because we are understanding that we are firefighters and there's things that happen and we have to get in our email and check certain things. But set yourself up for success by having a pretty solid time block part of your day, especially in the mornings.
Yep.
Number 2, the 2-minute rule. Never heard this one.
Me neither.
If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Could that work?
I suppose it could. I mean, I feel like I have a lot of tasks that I would be doing. For me, I've been writing them down, and I now have an Ashley Asia, an Ashley Maya, and Ashley Nicole column, and whoever's bucket it falls in, I write it down there. So when I do my one-on-ones, I delegate it.
I love it.
But before having employees, then yes, I guess that would work.
Okay, perfect. Well, and I think it depends. The 2-minute rule here is great from ChatGPT. If you have a brain that can hop out and into things, so
Yeah.
I think it depends on how your brain
I
works.
don't.
Yeah, I think we have different functionality there.
I get locked in.
Yeah.
If I'm on one task, it's hard for me to jump out and do like 15 other things. I like to finish the full thing that I'm in.
And for me, it's very simple to be like, hey, what's happening here? Got it, and then hop back into what I was doing.
Yeah.
So know yourself on the 2-minute rule. Don't you could be, who knows where you'll end up if you say yes to everything under 2 minutes. Number 3, batching tasks.
Group calls, emails, content creation. I would agree with that for time hacking. I mean, we do a group text with our sellers and with our buyers. So I think that is a time hack because we have so many people that are touching the transaction instead of the agent having to be the middleman coordinating and being that person that liaison, if you will. We have a group text for our sellers where we label it by the address of their home. And we have our transaction coordinator, listing manager, myself, and any appropriate parties on there. So when the sellers have questions, it's going to that group thread. So if I'm not the appropriate person to answer it or somebody else is, they can fill in and answer those questions for my clients without me ever even having to do anything. So that saves me so much time of being the middleman. And then on the buy side, I know Katie does the same too. We have like a group buying text with her and the showing assistant. And then me if it's a dual transaction so that the showing assistant can help coordinate things or answer questions if she's not available. So I think that is a huge time hack. And then we do that with our team too.
The transaction touchers.
The transaction touchers, that's a big time saving. For
Batching tasks also goes back to, I think, in Atomic Habits, James Clear says habit stacking. So when you have one thing happening already, it's easy to add that into your routine afterward versus just trying to add something randomly throughout the day, which I see agents do all the time. We try to set up like the perfect 8-hour schedule, and we're going to do this every day forever, and it goes awry on day 1, and then we never follow the schedule again. Number 4, Sunday planning session. 30-minute weekly planning to avoid chaos and stay ahead.
Yes, I do that. We just talked about it. So I do that every Sunday for the most part. If not, I get up really early on a Monday morning and do it if I don't have time Sunday with the kids.
Yep.
So yeah, I 100% agree with that one.
5th and final, say no to time wasters.
That's hard. Avoid unnecessary meetings, bad fit clients, and reactive work. Well, a couple things on that. So say no to time wasters. One, I think the time blocking with our team has helped because me personally, I have a really hard time saying no. I'm a people pleaser at heart. I like to help everybody. So when people come in my office and are like, do you have a second? You know, those always end up being 30 minutes. And when you have 10 people doing that, it's half your day. So I think the time blocking for our team specifically has helped with that. And then the bad fit clients, I would agree with that. I think it's a little bit harder when you're new as an agent. You kind of say yes to every single client. You don't turn clients down because any business you want. But I am getting to a point where now I can tell after a listing appointment, or Katie can tell after a really good buyer appointment, if this is going to be a good fit for us.
Yeah.
Like, is this person going to be unrealistic with expectations, spend a ton of time, like, venting to us, complaining all the time, this isn't good enough. You can just tell from your initial appointment what kind of client it's going to be, and then you can make a good decision at that point if this is a good fit for us. And I think we forget sometimes that we're interviewing the clients just as much as they're interviewing us to work with.
Yep.
And you have a right to not to work with that client if they're going to be a time suck and not really listen to anything that you go over during the appointment.
Same thing with agents, right? Like you're setting yourself up for 30, 40, 90 days. For us, as coming onto our team a year, of time where you want to bring somebody into your world that's in alignment, otherwise it will take everything from you. Another thing to remember, all work fills to the time allowed. Not every meeting has to be an hour. It's unnecessary, but we all think like, oh, let's just plan an hour for this, let's plan an hour for that. And I promise you, if you have a meeting on your calendar for an hour, it will fill up an hour, if not more. If you cut it down to 30 minutes, you'll get everything done in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, hopefully these top 5 acts were helpful. All right, next week, we're out of town.
We're in Mexico.
We're going to try to film an episode from there. But we're also going to be talking next about some of our biggest failures and challenges. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Yes.